Every generation produces one singer who quietly redraws the boundaries of what's possible. For ours, that singer is Michael Spyres. His name has become a kind of shorthand for what the human voice can achieve. The man who can float a high C like a Rossini tenor, then sink into a rich, resonant low F without losing color or freedom. But to understand Spyres, you have to look beyond the range. His real gift lies in how he thinks, a singer who studies, experiments, and questions everything. He's not just a performer, he's an investigator of sound, and his results have changed the way people talk about singing in our time. I first met Michael years ago when we were both young singers working in Germany, finding our way through the Fach system. Even then, he was different. While the rest of us were chasing roles and fighting nerves, he was listening, observing, analyzing. There was a calm about him, the calm of someone who learns faster by watching than by competing. Even back then, you could tell he wasn't just trying to sing well, he was building a philosophy of how singing works. Michael Spyres was born in 1979 in Mansfield, Missouri, into a deeply musical family. His parents were both music educators and performers who encouraged their children to treat music as a natural language. Growing up around local theatre and opera productions gave him an early sense of the stage, not as a pedestal, but as a second home. After early studies in the United States, he continued at the University of Music and Performing Arts Vienna, one of Europe's most rigorous conservatoires. It was there that he encountered the German Fach system, a method that classifies voices with scientific precision, from lyric to dramatic, light to dark. But even as a student, Spyres didn't fit any tidy label. His voice carried the resonance of a baritone and the ring of a tenor. He could color the sound down without weight and extend upward without thinning. That ambiguity, which might have confused casting directors, became the foundation of his artistry. Early in his career, he joined the Deutsche Oper Berlin ensemble, singing roles such as Tamino in Die Zauberflöte and the Steuermann in Die Fliegende Holländer. Those seasons in Berlin gave him structure, the kind of discipline that only comes from the daily machinery of a big European opera house, but also confirmed that he would never be an ordinary specialist. Though he studied formally, Spyres often says that his real education came from curiosity. He read, listened, and analyzed. He wanted to know why some voices carried emotion more naturally than others, why certain vowels released pressure, why some singers endured decades without fatigue. Where most of us inherited techniques secondhand, he built his own from scratch, reverse engineering the act of singing until he understood how everything connected: breath, resonance, vowel, onset, and release. His forgotten YouTube channel demonstrates this endless curiosity.
A lot of people know about Lamperti and Vaccai in the classical music world, but one person who everyone has heard of, Rossini, wrote the best exercises that I have found, to be honest, and they're Rossini's Solfeggi Gorgheggi. You can find these easily on IMSLP and other places, but some of the fun things that they do, like one of my favorites is so going and you can sing these in many different ways by going, keeping it light, or you can use full voice, that's just one example. But the interesting thing about him is that through these exercises, he basically knew the voice better than.
He became a scholar of the art form itself. He can discuss Garcia's experiments with the laryngoscope, Lamperti's writing on timbre, or Marchese's adaptation of Bel Canto for female voices. He can trace how the ideals of Battistini, Tamagno, and Rubini evolved into the modern dramatic tenor. The historical insight isn't decorative, it shapes his work. Spyres listens to the past the way some people study blueprints. He compares editions, restores authentic ornamentation, and re-examines forgotten repertoire. It's this kind of research that led him to rediscover music by Auber, by Levi, Meyerbeer, and Offenbach, composers once central to the operatic world, later abandoned for their difficulty and stylistic complexity. Spyres brings them back not as curiosities, but as living drama. That combination of intellect and imagination was obvious even back when we worked together. He could explain mid-rehearsal what the larynx was doing or why a vowel needed a different harmonic emphasis, and then demonstrate it perfectly. It wasn't pedantry, it was precision. He seemed to understand instinctively that emotion and control aren't enemies, they're partners. Spyres' voice defies convention. He possesses both the warmth and weight of a baritone and the brilliance of a tenor, a balance that recalls the lost 19th century tenore di mezzo carattere or baritenor. In that era, flexibility mattered more than category. Singers like Rubini, Nourri, and Dupré spanned what we now separate into two different faths. By the 20th century, opera houses had divided those roles and the mixed voice disappeared. Spyres has effectively revived it. His 2021 album, Baritenor Erato, was a manifesto, not a stunt, but a demonstration of how the same singer could embody both the elegance of Mozart and the heroism of Verdi while staying true to vocal integrity. He sings it all in one voice, adjusting not by mechanical shift, but by resonance balance, reshaping vowels, modifying overtones, keeping the larynx stable, and letting timbre adapt rather than break. The result is a sound that unites registers instead of crossing them. You can hear that continuity whether he's singing Figaro, Arnold, or even Otello. Spyres' technical discipline would look familiar to any 19th century master. He bases his work on the classic Bel Canto manuals that shaped an entire generation of singers. See my videos on Bel Canto and the castrati. These short exercises, full of rapid runs and trills, are designed to train coordination rather than power. Spyres calls them the DNA of Bel Canto and credits them with keeping his voice balanced and free. He is also a student of physiology, aware of how each vowel modifies the vocal tract and how airflow interacts with resonance. In interviews and masterclasses, he explains that mastery is never muscular, it's acoustic. That scientific clarity combined with an artist's ear makes his technique both ancient and modern. Spyres approaches every role as both a performer and a researcher. Before stepping into a score, he studies the composer's manuscripts, correspondence, and stylistic context. He looks for clues to tempo, ornament, and emotional pacing that most singers often overlook. I myself have always seen a piece of music as a conundrum that I must solve to get to the heart of what the composer wanted. Spyres takes that to another level. In Berlioz's Les Troyens or La Damnation de Faust, you hear the preparation, legato, that breathes with orchestral phrasing, diction that matches the poetry and dynamics shaped by harmony rather than ego. In Rossini, his agility becomes language, expressive speech like never athletic for his own sake, always for emotion. In Verdi, his upper notes retain the nobility and weight of the baritone register below. Among tenors, few combine scholarship and instinct so naturally. He understands style from the inside out, not by imitation, but by reconstruction. His performances are technical masterclasses disguised as spontaneous emotion, and they are extremely powerful emotion. Away from the stage, Spyres remains grounded. He speaks with a dry, understated wit and teaches with generosity and precision. He's not interested in celebrity for its own sake. Instead, he devotes his energy to developing his hometown company, the Ozarks Lyric Opera, where he serves as artistic director. Through that role, he connects international craft with local culture, bringing professional level opera to the community where he first performed as a child. His recordings reflect the same curiosity, reviving works by Aubert, Halévy, Meyerbeer, and Offenbach with the seriousness of Verdi or Wagner. These aren't vanity projects, they're acts of restoration. He treats lost repertoire as living history, giving it the same discipline he gives to the classics. Spyres is one of those rare artists whose artistry deepens the more he learns. For him, history isn't behind us, it's the foundation we stand on. When I think to those early days in Germany, I remember that quiet steadiness. While others were worrying about categories, he simply sang. He trusted his ear and his understanding. That composure hasn't changed. What's evolved is his reach, not his cure. Today, he stands as a bridge between tenor and baritone, intellect and emotion, tradition and innovation. He bridges that mastery with ease. He proves that mastery isn't about strength, but about clarity, knowing what you're doing and why. The most modern art, he reminds us, often begins with the oldest wisdom, the patient drills of Rossini Garcia, those gorgheggi solfeggi that once echoed through Paris. He has said that he doesn't believe in limits, only in understanding, and that may be his greatest legacy, showing that singing and learning can itself be an art form. Michael Spyres, the intelligent virtuoso, the Baritenor reborn, the man whose voice is not just emotional, not just intellectual, but utterly beautiful. So much more than a modern day Nikolai Gedda. One of the most beautiful tenor voices around today that can thrill, that can reach into the soul, that can move you with beauty and living proof that intellect and soul are not opposites but partners in song. Keep singing, Michael. Keep singing.